Hi, I'm Ed Hess. I'm a professor of business administration and Batten executive in residence here at the Darden Graduate School of Business. And I'd like to share with you this morning a new course we've created at Darden, which is a course on organic growth and the challenges of growing a public company. And this is a course that was based on lots of research done by myself and others that focuses on really 9 different aspects of growing a public company and the challenges of growing a public company. The research shows that very few public companies are able to continuously grow primarily organically for 4 years or more. So growth is hard, organic growth is even harder. In this course, we built it around 9 different modules. In the first module, we try to explain and get students to dig into public companies and come up with their own definition of organic growth and how it is computed. What's filed with the SEC? How are numbers, what type of numbers go into making up organic growth? Looking at the difference between what I call authentic earnings, which are earnings the old-fashioned way, companies selling more goods and services to unrelated customers in arm's length transactions, in what I call non-authentic earnings, in the myriad different ways companies can create legal earnings, either through accounting elections, valuations, channel stuffing, liberalizing their credit policies, engaging in financial engineering, structured finance transactions with Wall Street. And I use the Coca-Cola case to illustrate this point. We then move on to the second module is, what is the growth mental model in the public markets, what I call the Wall Street growth mental model. And that mental model basically has 4 different components. Companies either grow or die, big is always better, growth is always good, and public companies must grow in a continuous linear manner as evidenced by ever-increasing quarterly returns. And basically based on research, which is found in my new book, Smart Growth, we get into deep discussions how there is no empirical data which supports any of those rules or beliefs. They are fiction. Students find this quite surprising. In fact, they find it difficult to believe. But that leads to an entire discussion about how do you create real, authentic growth. And that leads to the module that there are basically 4 ways to grow a public company. You grow through improvements, doing something better. You grow through innovation, doing something new. You grow through scaling, which is doing more of what you're already doing that's working. And fourth, you can buy growth. And clearly for organic growth, we're focusing on improvements, innovations, and scaling. And the research basically shows in order to be a consistent high organic growth company, you need an enabling internal growth system. And by that I mean a seamless, consistent, linked, self-reinforcing system that links strategy, culture, structure, execution processes, measurements, rewards, and your leadership model, all to drive desired behaviors which produce growth. And note, I didn't say drive financial numbers, drive in behaviors. And the research shows that companies that are able to build this growth system, this internal system, do it over years through iteration, and basically it has 2 key components. It results in high employee engagement and customer centricity. Cases which evidence this, which I use in the course, are the Best Buy case, the UPS case, and then as a counter case, I use the Home Depot case in the story, in Bob Nardelli's story about how he brought in, if you will, General Electric's policies and ways of doing business to Home Depot. Another module in the course is the research that I've done that's also consistent with research done by McKinsey. Most public companies grow organically in the same progression. And by that I mean they do the same types of, if you will, growth initiatives over a period of time. And there is a 13-step model that we use in the course, which is like a strategic template. And I tell students, you can put this on a 3x5 card and carry it around with you, and you've got basically a good checklist how to think about organic growth in a public company. We also introduce another concept which students find interesting, challenging, and different. The research shows that not all growth is good. Growth creates risk that have to be managed. And I introduce in the course a growth risk audit, and we look at certain public company cases, Starbucks, Toyota, and I use the Tiffany & Company case to basically illustrate the fact that growth stresses people, culture, processes, financial controls, and quality controls. And in order to manage growth, you got to manage the risk of growth. We then moved to the Darden Growth Innovation Model, which I co-authored with my colleague, Professor Gene Litka. And this is research based on 3 independent research studies, which is a 7-step model that basically is a pipeline type of model and a funnel type of model, which shows what we found in high growth companies. And those companies basically build an annual portfolio of growth initiatives that they manage on a 2x2 matrix over time, short term and long term, and top line and bottom line. And that portfolio is made up of improvements, innovation, strategic acquisitions, and that the entire purpose of that portfolio is to create new S-curves or new efficiencies that can be scaled across a company. A very critical part of that Darden Growth Innovation Model is a process we call the Learning Launch. Learning Launch is basically a testing experimental method, because growth is basically a learning process, the research shows, and it's a way for companies to test out ideas cheaply and quickly. And we have a Learning Launch technical note that Darden Publishing publishes, which puts forth the entire scientific basis of learning launches, how it is done, with extensive worksheets as to how to basically create an experimental learning launch process to test initiatives and ideas. Fundamentally, growth is an experimental learning process. Growth is change. And growth basically brings into bear in our course everything our students learn in the 2 years at Darden. This course is a second-year elective course. We teach it in the 4th quarter, so students can basically draw upon what they've learned in accounting, management, leadership, marketing, and finance, and general management to bring it all together, because in order to grow a business continuously and be a high-growth company, you've got to basically create that internal system, which is a general management concept. And you've got to be concerned about high employee engagement and customer centricity.